It's AD 37, and you're born into one of the most powerful but absolutely dysfunctional families in Rome. Your father? He's rich, he's cruel, and he once ran over a child with his chariot just because he felt like it. Your mother? A descendant of Augustus, and one of the most terrifyingly ambitious women in Roman history. You're basically the spawn of a power-hungry empress-in-waiting, and a guy who thinks murder is a fun weekend hobby. Congrats. Before you even learn how to crawl, things start falling apart. Your father dies when you're barely 3, and your mother gets exiled by her own brother, the reigning emperor Caligula. Yes, that Caligula. The one famous for trying to make his horse a senator and hosting dinner parties that would make a brothel look classy. With mom gone, you're dumped at the house of your aunt. She's technically noble, but you might as well be living in a rundown Airbnb compared to the imperial palace. The good news? You survive. The bad news? That's about all you accomplish for a while. Your education is neglected, your childhood is spent in obscurity, and the only people teaching you anything are a dancing master and a barber. Forget the disciplined training of a future emperor. Your skill set at this point is limited to standing still while someone trims your hair. Then fate, or rather, your mother's cutthroat ambition, throws you back into the game. Caligula gets assassinated, not shocking, considering his hobby was public humiliation, and the new emperor, Claudius, brings Agrippina back from exile. She wastes no time securing a new husband, Claudius himself, her own uncle. Disgusting? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. Because the moment she marries him, she starts working on her masterpiece. By AD 50, she convinces Claudius to adopt, legally transforming you from a nobody into the official heir to the Roman Empire. There's just one problem. Claudius already has a son, Britannicus. He's the rightful heir, but your mother makes sure that won't last. You are now the golden boy, a pawn in your mother's grand plan. You get a fancy education. Seneca, a famous philosopher, is assigned as your tutor. He teaches you Latin, Greek, and some Stoic philosophy, which will later be about as useful to you as a sun hat in a gladiator arena. But none of that really matters, because by the time you're 16, Claudius is dead, probably poisoned, most likely by your mother. Now, you're emperor. At 16, you're sitting on the throne of Rome, the most powerful ruler in the world. But deep down, you know the truth. You didn't win this game. Your mother did, and she's not about to let you forget it. You're officially in charge, but let's be real. You're about as independent as a puppet on strings. Your mother, Agrippina, is the real power behind the throne. She's showing up in official meetings, making decisions, and reminding everyone that she put you here. And you're stuck playing the role of obedient son, smiling while she runs the show. At first, things aren't so bad. You've got Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, as your tutor, and Burrus, the head of the Praetorian Guard, making sure you don't trip over your own toga. Together, they try to mold you into a good emperor. You cut taxes, outlaw secret trials, and pretend to care about governance. The Senate actually thinks you might turn out okay. But let's be honest, you're more interested in poetry, music, and throwing wild parties than running an empire. You're obsessed with the arts, convinced that your true calling isn't ruling Rome, but performing in front of adoring crowds. The only problem? Your mother hates it. She wants you to act like a serious leader, not prance around writing tragic plays. Then things get really complicated. You fall for Claudia Acte, a former slave, and mom is furious. She wants you to marry someone politically useful, not someone who used to fetch wine. The fights start getting uglier. You want freedom, she wants control, and you both know one of you has to go. By the time you turn 17, you've had enough. You start listening less to Agrippina and more to Seneca and Burrus. You push your mother out of politics, strip her of her influence, and move her out of the palace. But she's not going quiet. She starts cozying up to your stepbrother, Britannicus, the actual son of Claudius, and a threat to your rule. So you do the only logical thing. You poison him at dinner, right in front of everyone. He collapses, foaming at the mouth, and you shrug it off as an epileptic episode. Nobody believes it, but nobody dares question you either. Congratulations, you're no longer just Agrippina's puppet. You're the emperor for real now. But with your mother still alive and breathing, you've got unfinished business. Next up, the world's most dysfunctional mother-son showdown. You're the emperor of Rome. At first, it's all feasts, cheers, and praise. People love you. The Senate tolerates you. Your advisors, Seneca and Burrus, whisper sweet wisdom in your ear, keeping you on a leash just tight enough to stop you from embarrassing yourself. For now, you play the role of the golden boy. But here's the problem. You're not interested in ruling. You're interested in performing. Why worry about boring Senate meetings when you can be on stage basking in the adoration of your people? The cheers of a crowd are far more satisfying than the droning of old men in togas. Then things start to shift. Who practically gifted you the throne becomes inconvenient. She thinks she still calls the shots. You disagree. And since you're the emperor, you settle the disagreement the Roman way by having her murdered. A few failed attempts, collapsing boat, poison, assassins. Later, she's finally dead. Problem solved. No one tells you what to do anymore, except they do. Seneca and Burrus still nag about governing responsibly. Taxes, military campaigns, diplomacy, yawn. You tolerate them for a while. while. But when Burrus conveniently dies and Seneca starts looking a little too powerful, you decide it's time for a fresh start. Seneca, retire, which in Rome means write your will and slit your wrists. Now, there's nothing standing between you and total control. You don't need a senate. You don't need Rome's traditions. You're a god, and gods do whatever they want. You drain the treasury funding your artistic career. You force nobles to watch your performances, and if they dare to fall asleep, death. You host grand spectacle, gladiator fights, musical performances, all starring you. Your ego is Rome's new emperor. Then in 64 AD, the Great Fire of Rome happened. It burns for 6 days, turning the city into an inferno. People panic. They need someone to blame. And guess what? They choose you. Rumors spread that you played the lyre while the city burned, composing an epic ballad instead of help. You try to fix the PR nightmare by blaming the Christians, but it's too late. The people are turning against you. You double down. More executions, more paranoia. You purge senators, generals, even old friends. Rome isn't an empire anymore. It's your personal horror show. But here's the catch. Absolute power doesn't last forever. The cracks are showing. The legions whisper rebellion. The Senate plots. Even your bodyguards start eyeing you like you're replaceable. And you are. You wake up in a cold sweat. The night before, you were the emperor of Rome. Now, you're the most wanted man in the empire. Galba, that crusty old governor in Spain, has declared himself emperor. The Senate, those bootlickers who once praised you, have turned on you. And the Praetorian Guard, the men sworn to protect you, they've been bribed to betray you. You're officially an enemy of the state. Anyone can kill you and claim a reward. But hey, at least the common people still love you, right? You did throw them the best parties. You even performed for them on stage. Maybe they'll rise up and save you? No, the streets are empty. Turns out free bread and circus games only buy so much loyalty. So you do what any rational emperor would do. You plan an escape. You rush to the docks, thinking you'll sail to Egypt, live like a pharaoh, and make a comeback. But your trusted allies, they scatter like rats. Even your horses refuse to move. Trapped, you flee to a villa outside the city. Phaon's place, a loyal freedman. There you sit in the dark, trembling. Every sound could be soldiers coming to drag you to the Senate, where they'll beat you to death in public. A messenger arrives. The Senate has sentenced you to execution by whipping. The last thing you want is to be flogged like a common criminal. You turn to your last friend, Epaphroditus, your secretary. Do it, you beg him. Kill me. But your hands shake. You can't bring yourself to do it. So Epaphroditus holds the knife, and together you shove it into your throat. It's messy. It's slow. It hurts. As you bleed out, a final thought creeps in. What an artist the world is losing in me. And just like that, it's over. The Julio-Claudian dynasty, gone. Rome moves on. Galba takes the throne. The Senate pretends they never loved you. And in the streets, they start whispering about your return. Even after death, your ghost lingers. You are Nero, and your story isn't over yet.